Hello everybody. Over the last 6 months, it has been a rather hectic time for my motoring menagerie, with cars arriving, leaving, having work done, a few unexpected surprises along the way, both good and bad. So it has been a little bit difficult to try and keep track of everything, and that's for me. So I appreciate that for my viewers, it's a little bit tricky to try and work out what it is I still have, don't have, and what is going on. So, in today's video, a reasonably concise update on the entirety of the JayEmm fleet, right after the funky music. When you have a fleet of cars that's as needy as mine, you're always grateful for any help that you can get. So I am very glad to say that today's video has a headline sponsor, Surfshark. Surfshark is a VPN. If you're not familiar with the concept, essentially it's a secure virtual tunnel that connects your computer to another one, making it look like all of your online activity is actually happening from somewhere else. And this brings many key benefits. First off, if you are traveling abroad in particular, it means you can keep track of everything that you need to do from home, which you cannot access from abroad. For example, there are many public Wi-Fi networks out there which will not allow you access to many key services, including stuff as boring as the comment section of YouTube. For someone like myself, not being able to access that is a really big problem. In addition, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, Surfshark can add another layer of security and safety to all of your online activity, which in the day and age we live in, I think is a very, very handy thing to have. Even better, if you use the link in the description down below with my code, JayEmm, you can get an incredible 3 months free and 83% off your Surfshark subscription. It also works across a number of different devices, including PC, mobile phone, tablet computer, laptop, Apple, and a whole bunch more. On to the topic at hand, my fleet of cars. And we'll begin with one that hasn't actually even appeared on the channel, my Citroen BX. More specifically, a car known to some as the Tomato, because it was formerly owned by my friend Jack of the channel number 27. I bought this car last year, I think now, because I wanted myself a 1990s quirky French hatch, but most of them were far more money than I was willing to pay. However, Jack had had this car, I'd had an eye on it since he got it, and I said to him, look, if ever you part with it, please do let me know, I wouldn't half mind a go at it. So he was getting rid and, true to his word, said, James, do you want to buy the car? I foolishly said yes. I got it, put it on the driveway, drove it a few times, it then broke down, nothing actually that severe in the end, but to an extent that I couldn't actually use it. So, that car hasn't even been formally introduced, but the plan with it is to do a full restoration. It's currently over with Richard Kitchen of Southways Automotive, who also has his own YouTube channel. I'll put the details for that here and in the description as well. He's doing all the mechanical stuff to it, then it's going to go off to my body shop, where it's going to be cosmetically restored. It's actually in much better condition than you might expect. The car is even a TV star as well, because it was on the show Flippin' Bangers, where it was given a sort of very gentle makeover. There's no car SOS or even wheeler dealers that show, but they did something, and it's a nice piece of history to have with the car. So when that does finally reappear and is trustworthy enough to drive, I will of course do a proper video on it. Next up, my Honda S2000. I've been working on that car for the last sort of 2 years. It was one I bought with the intent of modifying. The first time I've really done any major modifications to the car, and it was going extremely well. I'd done pretty much all the handling stuff, so it's got new bushings, new suspension, both dampers and springs, had a load of chassis bracing, all sorts of stuff. It had gone to Center Gravity, who'd done a really good job of setting everything up, and I was delighted with it. The big thing I wanted to do with the car was to fit a whole new head that I'd bought, which came with a set of ITBs. As it happened, the ITBs were the bit that I went for, and all the other stuff was a bit of a Brucey bonus. Unfortunately, we were just getting to the end of the whole process when a piece in the valve train let go. Piston valve, valve piston. One of the pistons is currently sort of wearing several valves as a hat, and another cylinder is currently a swimming pool. So, in short terms, my engine is toast. And I'm currently in the process of trying to source an entire new short block from Japan. I've done a big video update on that car recently, so that's really all there is to say on that. When there is more news, you will have it. What I'm currently waiting on from Talk GT is specific pricing information and stuff. Japan apparently was on a holiday the other week, so we're just waiting for some details to come back, and then I will have a plan of action for that car. Another Japanese hero car, which hasn't been seen for a little while, is my Toyota Celica. I bought that car also a couple of years ago, but it was just not in the condition that I had hoped. It went off to get some work done by a sort of amateur restorer, and he did quite a few different bits. It then came back. I wanted to get it cosmetically sorted, so I had the whole thing fully sprayed. Then it came back, and I thought, right, let's drive the car for a little bit, see if it's actually behaving itself now or not, because there were a few issues, which is why I had stopped driving it. Also, cosmetically, it was pretty bad, and I just didn't like looking at it. It genuinely did sort of get me quite down. The car I drove, and then I realised when I got the footage back that it was smoking quite a bit. It also didn't seem to be making the proper power, and there were loads of other issues. So I thought, right, sod it. Let's get it over to MK Autos, who's basically the specialist for GT4s. It's been there for a few months now, and we've done loads. It's got a new gearbox on it. It's got a new turbo on it. We've got a new ECU on it. We've done some suspension bits. We have gone through that car with a fine-tooth comb. There's been a really big spend on that. When it reappears, and I've driven it, and I'm happy with it, there will, of course, be a full update with costings and all that sort of stuff. The only thing holding that car back at the moment is that there is a bit of a personal issue happening with the guys, so we're just waiting to be able to map the car, and then as soon as that's done, it will be back with me, and I will certainly be enjoying it. I have plans to take it up to Scotland later in the year, if it can return in time. Otherwise, Florence! How do you know? How do you know when I'm doing these things? I have a little cat. She will probably jump up on my lap in a bit. I mean, I hope you jump up on my lap, because otherwise I'm just going to look like a nutter that's talking to the floor. There we go. There we go. There's the cat. I know people have wondered where you are, Florence. People have really wondered where you are. Cat update. Florence is doing absolutely great. Every now and again she limps a little bit, but she's getting old. She's like 12 or 13, and I think she doesn't realise how tall some of these windows are, do you? No. Bear is my other cat, who I don't think has probably ever appeared on a video. He's also a little bit old, but he's totally chill. So cats are fine, aren't you? They're fine. Whenever I do these things, she appears. She doesn't appear when I'm not talking to you guys. But, you know, you love her, she loves you, you know. You're a diva. You are a diva. So, two cars now that are no longer with me, which you may be familiar with. The Maserati Quattroporte. The short version of what happened there is I was supposed to buy a Ferrari FF at the end of last year. As I was halfway through the buying process, I realised that having the Maserati and the FF would have just been a bit silly. They're both big, powerful, very thirsty Italian four-seaters, and there'd be a little bit too much overlap there. Plus, by selling the Maserati, I'd be able to free up some money with whatever the extra running costs of the FF were going to be. Sadly, I had already done the deal to sell the Maserati when I found out that the FF I was going to buy was in fact a heap of trouble waiting to happen. So that deal all got cancelled and never happened. I made a video on that. There was stuff that happened afterwards, but I'm just not going to revisit it because I got a lot of flack for making that particular video. I thought I was doing the right thing. Internet didn't entirely agree with me on that, so I'm just leaving that well alone. Handily, the Maserati I sold to a very good friend who doesn't live all that far away, so that car may still appear on the channel at some point in the near future. The Maserati content is not over, and I do keep thinking that maybe I did enjoy the Maserati thing quite a bit, so there could be an opportunity to have another one at some point in the near future. Exactly which one, though, I'm still trying to decide. My BMW Z3, which I'd taken as part exchange for my Porsche 944 Turbo S, that is also sold. Providence Cars took care of that for me. Very easy, very efficient. I got exactly the money that I wanted. I'd spent a little bit on that car, did it up. I think it was in really, really good condition, and I hope the new owner is enjoying it. So if you're watching, and I do believe they watch the channel, I hope you're having a good time with that car, because it was delightful. But as I already have the S2000, owning another convertible seemed a little bit excessive. Had I known what was going to happen to the S2000, I probably would have kept the Z3, but also the money from that is helping pay for the Honda. So, the F12 is the most recent acquisition. It's the newest car on the driveway. I've already done many thousands of miles in it, taken it on an epic trip to Scotland, revisited the roads that it was filmed on for the Top Gear review about 9 years ago now, and I've had a wonderful, wonderful time with it. Over the last few weeks, I haven't actually used it all that much. The one thing I did do was I took it down to go and see Shmi, who drove the car, and that video is going to be out probably pretty soon. It might already be out by the time you see this one. So that was a good day out, and having not driven the car for a little while, I was reminded of just how special it is. In fact, I should do that more. I know I love driving my cars all the time, but sometimes not driving them for a little bit does really help give you a sense of appreciation for just how good they are. The car is going to need a few things. The front end needs some paint work. The alloys need refurbing. I made a complete mess of one of them recently in an evil width restrictor. Really embarrassing. I'll do a video or Instagram post or something on that at some point soon, but that's getting sorted out next week. Other than that, though, yeah, the car's going to be due a service in June, July. I'll get a few bits sorted. I'm going to treat it to a couple of little extra bits as well that I would like, but otherwise that car has been pretty much good as gold. Which is more than I can say for my 550. Now, that car I spent a whole bunch of money on last year. I took it on a trip with Ferrari, did a few different little bits and bobs. Then I decided, right, it's time to start the Classic A process, which is Ferrari's thing for their older cars. It's essentially a nice big brochure booklet thing showing you that your car is as it left the factory and that it's also in, you know, correct specification. Now, this is a fairly involved process. It takes like hundreds of photographs and various different pieces being inspected on the car, and then the factory verified that it is as it left them, you know, in my case, 23 years ago. This is something I've been really excited to do, especially because the plan is to go to Maranello to collect my Classic A certificate, which is a really exciting thing. I've never ever been to the Ferrari factory, and to be able to do so in my own Ferrari is a dream come true. There's no other way of putting it. That is a really, really emotional thing to even think about. And so when I do it, I am probably going to be a bit of a wreck, but I'm sure it'll be worth it. Unfortunately, while the car was in for the Classic A inspection, we noticed a couple of bits with it. The oil pump was being a bit grumbly, so we inspected, and that was in the process of failing. However, there was an unexpected surprise waiting for me, which has increased the bill by about 6-fold. That naturally is going to get its own video because I am going to need to make as much content as I can on that car to try and pay for it. To give you a rough idea, the value of the Z3 is probably not going to be enough to cover the bill that I've got waiting for me with the 550. And it's not even really a Ferrari problem. It's the most awful, sickening, stupid thing that is no one's fault. Not my fault, not Meridian's fault, not the fault of anyone that's had the car recently. This is a daft thing that's happened to it in the past, and yeah, it's wound up costing me a lot, but as I want to do things with that car right, there is only one way to do it. In short, the engine is currently not in that car. And if you thought getting an engine out of a 355 was expensive, you ain't seen nothing, because the 550's engine is not designed to come out. Next up, another car which has left the fleet, my Ferrari 430 Scuderia. This was supposed to have its own video and probably will, but because I didn't really want to drag the whole thing out too long with finding a replacement for it, I haven't actually made that content yet. I came very close to sourcing a replacement, to the extent that I actually had filmed a video explaining everything that had gone on, but that then wound up going wrong in itself, and so that just hasn't happened. But yeah, my 430 Scuderia is gone. It actually went a little while ago, so apologies to anybody who sort of asked about it recently. I've been trying to sort of maintain the YouTube continuity, which can be a little bit tricky, but yeah, I no longer own that car. The reason it went back is really, really quite simple. It wasn't that I got bored of it, or I wanted something else, or anything to do with the F12 at all. The F12 was bought and done before the 430 went back. Essentially, there was a problem with the 430 with regards to its suspension that had been there since before I actually bought the car, and Dick Lovett had made many, many attempts at fixing, but they simply couldn't. Just in case you think that I'm being a really, really difficult and picky so-and-so, this is what I'm talking about.
Got the engine
You hear that clonking noise? That was constant. That was all the time. And because the car has no carpet or anything in it, that noise is amplified. And because there is no stereo in it, that's all you hear. And I am the sort of person, my brain kind of fixates on that noise, and it was sending me slowly insane. Ferrari agreed that the car shouldn't be making those noises, but they simply were unable to cure it. So after the last visit to Dick Lovett, which took about 2 months and cost them thousands and thousands of pounds, it still wasn't fixed. So I kind of said to them, look guys, this is getting out of hand now. You're spending a fortune on fixing this car. It's not getting fixed. I'm not able to use it. I'm not able to make content for all of you. It's just stupid. Let's just call it a day, shall we, and move on. They agree with me. They were very, very good about the whole thing. Getting the car back to them was not an issue. I've essentially got out of that car. It's cost me like my monthly payments, but essentially my deposit was returned to me. The market's been really good lately, so they, I think, weren't too upset about that. The car's now up for sale at Dick Lovett for about 10 grand more than I paid for it, which is probably, if they have fixed it, and I'm sure they have, not a bad price for it. It was, in many ways, a brilliant car, and I wish I could have kept it, but it did just get to a point of just being stupid. You know, we were just chasing it and chasing it and chasing it and not fixing it. So that's a real shame. Last but not least is the one car that I actually sort of almost forgotten about, simply because it's been so very good to me and I haven't seen it for a little while because it's in storage, which is my Porsche 968. That's a car I do want to go and see soon. There is a tiny bit of paintwork that needs rectifying, which is why I haven't got it on the driveway. That is being sorted by my body shop guys, Suffolk Body Repair. That's like a £200 job. I scratched it on a fence post. Actually, I didn't even hit the fence post. There's a little light on the fence post, and because of the shape of the 968, I'm making excuses. Look, I just reversed it into it. It's totally embarrassing. I just scraped like a little bit of lacquer, like a tiny bit of lacquer off. You can't really even see it from more than 3 foot away, but I know it's there. It's driven me nuts, so that needs sorting. So, yeah. There you go. That is the state of the JayEmm fleet as it is. If you have any particular questions about any of the cars that I have mentioned, please pop into the comment section down below and I'll try and answer them as best I can. For now, thank you all for watching, listening to me once again, and supporting the channel, because, believe me, I really, really do appreciate it. Without all of your support, without all of your views, I would really be panicking right about now. Well, actually, to be fair, I wouldn't have all these lovely things. So by viewing all the stuff, you really, really do help me, and you help keep these cars on the road. And I promise, as soon as they start returning, the content will continue to flow, and I'll be able to get out there and simply enjoy these beautiful, wonderful cars that deserve to be shared with the world at large. So I shall see you all for the next one. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. See you soon. Bye-bye.